Today we're going into something that's often misunderstood, often misrepresented, and emotionally deep, even when it doesn't always show that way on the surface. I want to talk to you about male sexual desire. Not the social media version, not the movie-style fantasy, and definitely not the locker room cliché. I'm talking about the honest, real version. Now, before you think, oh, I already get what men want, it's obvious, or, here we go again, men are just physical, that's all, I need to stop you right there. Because there's so much more to this topic than just desire or passion. Underneath male desire is a mix of longing, fear, emotional need, doubt, and yes, sometimes even love. I've spoken with many men over the years. I've coached them, listened to their private struggles, and I can tell you one thing for sure. What men show on the outside doesn't always reflect what they're feeling inside. And that's why this conversation really matters, not just for women but also for men. Matters, not just for women but also for men. Because truly understanding male sexual desire isn't only about handling relationships better, it's about opening doors to a deeper emotional bond, more kindness, and a much more honest kind of closeness. So if you've ever asked yourself, why does he seem all in one moment and then emotionally disappear the next? Or, why does it feel like sex is the only way he tries to connect? Or, why does intimacy sometimes leave me feeling emotionally distant instead of closer? Then this message will bring some clarity. It'll give you a different view. One that helps you see things in a way that strengthens you rather than leaving you confused or questioning your worth. This isn't about blaming anyone or pointing fingers at men. It's about understanding more about them and ourselves. Because the more we uncover about what really drives desire, the more we can choose experiences that feed our soul instead of draining it. So take a breath. Get cozy. Maybe grab your favorite drink. And let's carefully explore this together. Because when you begin to understand the emotional depth behind male desire, you stop blaming yourself for his behavior. You stop thinking his emotional distance is your fault. And you start making thoughtful choices about what you'll allow in your emotional space. Let's be honest. When people talk about male desire, it often gets reduced to one simple idea: hormones, visuals, urges. Men are painted as creatures driven by physical cravings alone, as if that's all there is. But that isn't the full story. For many men, sex isn't just about the act itself. It's about what it means. It's about feeling important. It's about being chosen. It's about validation. From a young age, many boys are given quiet but strong messages that connect their worth with how attractive they are to women. While girls are often taught to be emotionally kind, gentle, loving, boys are more often pushed to be attractive, impressive, dominant. In that kind of world, sex becomes a scoreboard. It's not just about enjoyment, it becomes proof. If a woman desires him, it sends a message: you're good enough, you matter. But here's the surprising part. Behind that craving for sex, there's often a quiet hunger for emotional safety, for comfort, for the feeling of being enough. And because so many men are never shown how to talk about their emotions, because asking for love or comfort feels weak in the culture they grow up in, they go toward what feels safe: sex. So when a man is stressed, unsure, lonely, or feeling low, his desire for sex may suddenly increase. Not because he's overcome with physical passion, but because he's reaching for something that makes him feel accepted again. It's not always about pure physical attraction in that moment. Often it's about calming the ache of insecurity. This is why some men seem overly focused on sex in a relationship. Each time their partner responds with physical closeness, it feels like emotional confirmation. It sends a message: you still matter, you're still wanted. And when that level of intimacy drops, which happens naturally due to life, work, kids, or stress, it can feel like rejection to him. Not because his partner doesn't love him, but because he's tied his worth to that connection. But let's be fair, not all male desire comes from a place of insecurity. That would be too simple and not fully honest. Many men have a healthy and joyful relationship with their sexuality. They experience sex as a way to connect, to share affection, to feel passion, and to simply enjoy being close. Plenty of men are emotionally open and want physical closeness as part of a loving and balanced bond. Still, here's what matters to notice. In many cases, sex becomes the only space where men feel allowed to ask for emotional warmth. It becomes the main path to express needs they haven't been taught to speak out loud. And this is where awareness changes everything. Because once a woman sees this clearly, she stops taking his desire or distance so personally. She understands what might be underneath it. She doesn't feel used or confused. Instead, she gains insight that gives her the strength to decide from awareness how she wants to respond. Whether she chooses to meet that need becomes her choice, not a reaction driven by guilt or fear. The truth is, male desire is often less about the body and more about meaning. It's about feeling valued. It's about being reminded you matter. And until we begin to say that out loud, we'll keep missing the real heart of intimacy. Let's also talk about something we often forget, especially during those exciting early stages of love. When everything is fresh and the chemistry is intense, it's easy to think that sexual energy is what will hold everything together. And while it can definitely spark something beautiful, it can't keep things alive on its own. That early fire, the strong pull, the rush, it feels like magic. But without deeper emotional roots, that fire burns out. It starts strong and fast, but it fades. We've all been there, that time when everything felt electric, you couldn't keep your hands off each other, it was thrilling and felt addictive. But those kinds of connections are fragile when they aren't backed by emotional depth, mutual respect, and shared vulnerability. Without those things, sexual connection becomes like fast food. It gives you something in the moment but leaves you feeling empty afterward. And that crash is real. You might find yourself thinking, but it felt so real. He seemed so into me. What happened? What happened is simple. It wasn't fake, it was just incomplete. There wasn't enough emotional connection to keep it going. And for a lot of men, that's the sad pattern they don't know how to break. They want closeness. They chase that emotional high. But they haven't learned how to stay emotionally present when things become real and raw. The relationships that last, the ones that feel truly fulfilling, aren't just about attraction. They're built on safety, honesty, and depth. When a man feels safe enough to show you not just his desire but his fears, his worries, his real self, that's when closeness becomes something that can last. So yes, desire can open the door, but emotional truth is what builds the home. If a man only wants your body but doesn't connect to your soul, you'll always sense that something is missing, because it is. And when you begin to understand the emotional signals behind male desire, you no longer live in confusion. You start making decisions from a place of inner power. You begin asking yourself important questions. Does this make me feel full? Do I feel emotionally seen? Is this desire rooted in love, or is it hiding something deeper? When you can tell the difference, everything changes. That chemistry you felt, it was real. But maybe it wasn't enough. One day he starts acting distant, less present. The physical connection might still be there, but it feels different, more like a habit than true passion. And you're left wondering what shifted. The truth is, nothing really changed. It was always like that underneath. It just took time for you to see past the illusion. Because attraction isn't the same thing as connection. You can feel a strong pull to someone you barely understand. You can want their body without